Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the podcast of American Corner UMY. And today I'm Emerging Milang Jaringa. I'm one of the volunteers in American Corner. We lead this podcast today, and that we are joined by Miss Marcy Carrel, one of the regional public engagement specialists or reps from the U.S. Embassy, Jakarta. How are you, Marcy?
Very good, very good. Good morning.
Good
Nice
morning.
to be here.
We are very happy to welcome you in our corner for the second time, right?
Yes, second time. Yes. July 2023 was my first visit here, and now July 2024 is my second.
So it's been a year.
Exactly
Yeah.
1 year. Yes.
All right. So this is your second time in Jogja, or you've been
Yes.
here before?
Oh, I think it's only my second time in the city as well. Yes, I
Wow.
haven't been here any other time.
How do you like Jogja so
Oh,
far?
it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I keep hearing so many things that I need to visit on a more tourist-oriented kind of
Mhm.
level. So I'm looking forward to coming back and doing some of those tourist visits to other places.
I would
right?
recommend you to do that.
Yeah.
And we are Jogjanis are very happy to welcome you here.
Excellent.
And to give a little bit background about what we're doing in our podcast, we're going to ask you some questions. We're going to talk about the American Corners in general, what they do, and then how they engage with the society, how they contribution in society. Because American Corner is one of the hub that it's also public libraries that everyone can access.
Mhm.
So. Maybe I'm going to start with a little bit about you. Like, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and what you're doing here, and then what about your job and what you do with American Corner?
Okay. Well, that's a lot, but let's see. So we'll keep it short, I hope. So my title is a little unusual, Regional Public Engagement Specialist, but I am a diplomat. I'm a Foreign Service officer. I work for the U.S. Department of State. So my position is regional. That means that I cover American spaces in this portfolio. I cover 4 countries. I cover Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, and Timor Leste. But my portfolio is working only with American spaces. So American centers, American corners, and affiliate American spaces. So different types of American spaces. And let's see, I've been in this position now for 11 years. I've been in different countries. I was based in Pakistan originally. That was my first overseas posting after Washington, D.C. And Pakistan, covering Pakistan and Afghanistan. Then came Myanmar, and that was my longest tour. I covered Burma or Myanmar and Thailand. Then I was in East Africa, in Kenya, based in Nairobi, Kenya, covering 12 countries in East Africa. And then more recently here, I came here just a little over a year ago. So when I got here to Indonesia in May of 2023, May or June 2023, and the first American corner that I visited in Indonesia was this corner, UMY. So this was my introduction to the way you do American corners here in Indonesia.
All right. So I noticed that you said this is your 11 years in the job, and
Yes.
then you've been to service like 4 different regions, and then
Yes.
it's all for the American spaces?
Only American spaces. That's why my title says specialist. So I don't do consular work, for example. So in any of my positions, when I'm assigned to a different country, I'm only going to be working in public affairs sections, working with American spaces.
Okay.
So that allows us, the other reps, to develop some expertise in working with American spaces. So we're a little bit deeper and narrower than some of the other diplomats and foreign service officers.
I see. All right. So the 4 regions, they also do have American corners in some of the countries, right?
Yes.
So it's something that not only U.S. Embassy in Jakarta who have American corners idea, but in general from the U.S. government.
Correct. So globally, there are over 600 American spaces. So there are a lot, right? And we are in,
How many?
over 600.
Over 600. I have no idea that's over 600.
It's kind of crazy, yes.
That's
and
crazy.
They really run the gamut in terms of size, from small to medium to large and everything in between, right? So 600 spaces and in 140 countries. So it is a very big animal that we're trying to wrestle and trying to allow both some standardization so that people understand what an American space is all about, and then also allowing room for some unique character. So each American space, each corner, each center is going to have something a little bit unique, and something that kind of defines what makes them special, right?
Because in Indonesia, like in Jogja especially, in UMY, I think American Corner is really popular among students because, the facilities that we have here is really engaged with the way that students actually learn. So my next question is, there are over 600 American Corner over the world. And what is the objective that the U.S. government to start, opening American spaces in 140 countries all over the world?
Yes. Great question. Great question. So this is the U.S. government, this is our opportunity to engage with publics around the world, right? So other diplomats and foreign service officers, they work at the government to government level, right? So it's the ministries talking to the ministries, right? Politicians talking to politicians. But we are people to people, and that's what our American spaces enable us to do. So it enables us to engage with local populations, right? And to provide access to accurate information, right? And to have that sort of provide opportunities for learning and growing and learning about the United States as well.
Does each American Corner from every countries, they have a specific, for example, activities that, distinguish them from other American Corner? For example, because you've been in 11 years in 4 different regions, and maybe you see that American Corner in Yogyakarta, maybe also American Corner in, let's say, in Thailand that you were saying. And does any kind of the programs they have different? Because maybe they're, again, people to people. The people in Thailand might have a different kind of culture that we have here in Indonesia, which you share.
Perfectly good question. Yes. So let me just start by clarifying that the primary feature that we want to have in any of our American spaces is that they are free and open access to everyone, right? We are inclusive. And also free and open internet, right? So that is really important, at least today, to the way we do business. Beyond that, we have what we call the 6 pillars of American Corners. So all of our American Corners have some aspect of those 6 pillars. And basically that means type of activity. So we have English language learning, right? We have Education USA, which means studying at universities in the United States, right? We have alumni engagements. That means learning from alumni of our U.S. government programs. So local people who have gone on programs to the United States can come back and talk about their experiences. Let's see, number 4, strategic cultural programming. That means that if we're going to talk about music diplomacy, for example, it's going to be strategic. It's not we want to make some connection to the United States or to some of the shared values that we have with our countries. Let's see, that's 4. Let's see, 5. How about STEM or skills building program? So not just STEM, but any skills building program. This was our most recently added pillar that we added. We used to always say 5 pillars. This is the 6th pillar that we added a few years ago. Oh, the one that I'm missing in there is information about the United States, right? Okay. So that might be in form of books or magazines or movies or some of the databases that we offer, the people that come and talk, any way that we can offer information about the United States. So those are the 6 things that we do sort of across the board. And then every corner or center is going to have a little bit of a different flavor, right, to how they make that operate, right? So I would say that here in Yogyakarta, I see that there's a tagline, and now I'm going to get it wrong.
We create,
what is it?
We create a learning society.
We create a learning society. Excellent. Yes. So that's a very appropriate tagline, right, for the kind of place you are. You're inside of a university, so presumably everyone is here for some level of learning, right? But we want to take that to the next level. It's not just learning what's in the book in front of you in the classroom, but also lifelong learning, right? And becoming really passionate about learning about different things, right? So and taking that the next step further. So you say a learning society, right? So that means not just your little group of friends, or not just your discipline, but you want to spread that passion about learning to everyone in your community.
Yeah, the idea of we create a learning society is when we start American Corner, we see that more students are coming here, but we want to also tell the society or community around that it's also open for public, like you said, because public can access all the facilities like free internet access and everything. So we start thinking that we are in the center of the university. We create a learning, but not only for student, but for society as in general. So people can come here.
I am so glad to hear you articulate it that way, because that is exactly what we want to hear, right? And I know you were a volunteer here, or still a volunteer here, so you have that spirit, and so that's really that's really wonderful to hear that, right? And I guess that also emphasizes both one of our primary goals and also a challenge, right? So you're here inside of the university, and you have this wonderful space, this wonderful opportunity, all the programs that you offer, but you're inside the university, right? So you need to find ways to make sure that other students at other universities in Yogyakarta and broader are aware of this facility. And, high school students or those who are not studying are also aware of it. So that's a challenge, right? And it's a challenge I would put to everyone here, right? And to make sure that it is welcoming, that people understand you don't have to speak English perfectly to be able to walk in the door, right? You can not even speak a word of English, just hello. That would be a good starter, is hello, right? But beyond that, you don't need to speak English to come in here. You don't need to be a student at this university, right? You don't need to be studying a particular field or discipline, right? So those are the kinds of things that we want to make sure everyone is aware of.
Yeah, I do agree about the challenge. And I think it's also like what you were saying. In the past, in 2015, start volunteering here and then start like looking at from the front door of the American Corner. And I see that there is a sign of American Corner. It sounds very fancy to me. And then I peekaboo, like just a little tiny peekaboo in the window. And it's like, wow, this is amazing space. I mean, it looks fancy. And then I don't have, courage to get in, because I was thinking that maybe it's kind of office of the government. I don't know what's going on here. And then I decided to not come in, but I came for the second time, and then I would take the bravery. Okay, I come in. And I met the director directly, and then he explained it to me, and then now it's become my second home since then. So it's really about how to engage with the community, like you said, and then the challenge that we have, and I think that's why the importance of that 6 pillars, because people think that American Corner is for people who want to learn English, but we are more than just providing English learning opportunity, but it's more like engaging people in that 6 pillars, right? So I think it's really important to use the 6 pillars. I really, attract with the idea of STEM, because in the past, like when I come in here as a study medicine, like we don't do medicines program here in American Corner. But I'm glad that after I convey my previous reps, Mr. Scott, and then he bring a Kaplan medicines, I don't know, like a courses to get USMLE test in the United States. And then we have a seminar for Kaplans, so for medical students. So I think it's a great opportunity also to introduce American system of medical schools instead of medical student. I think it's very important, and then I'm glad that you mentioned it. All right. So because there is that objective you were saying, and maybe how long it's been for American government to have American Corners in all the countries that we mentioned?
Well, that's a trick question. I hope I don't get this wrong. So we usually say that the first American space is in Buenos Aires in Argentina. In 1928, I think we say. It's actually a binational center, which is another category of spaces. So it's kind of a complicated history about how American spaces came to be. Back originally, we had, big libraries, right? And they were part of a different but related agency to the U.S. Department of State, right? And they were usually in capital cities. And then eventually things were brought in-house onto the compound, the U.S. Embassy compounds, and then we needed to find more ways to reach out. So there were a lot of different formats and ways that they were happening. But this sort of moniker we have of American spaces with corners and centers, that I think officially we say it started in 2011. But there are plenty of American spaces and American centers and libraries that happened long before that, right? So a very, very long history.
Very
With
long
a lot
history.
of a lot of different tentacles or branches, but yes, a long history.
I bet like over past centuries, like almost a century, like
Yes,
from
absolutely.
1928,
Yes, you're right.
right?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Can you imagine?
Yikes.
Maybe there's also like some of evolvement in terms of like the objective that American spaces have, right? And I also like just wanted to clarify: does the American spaces only happen in university, or does it open in other categories? Because we see in Indonesia mostly in the university, right?
Yes.
No, we have one at America in Pacific Place and Voice of Istiklal.
Yes, yes. The great question and great examples. So no, they're not only in universities. That's often where we see corners, yes, but both centers and corners can be in multiple places. And interesting that you bring up at America here in Jakarta in Indonesia. It is probably the largest, at least in terms of reach, the number of people that they reach. It's one of the largest American centers that we have anywhere globally. It really is kind of our shining star, to be honest. So we're very, very proud of at America. It's been around since 2008, I think, is when it opened. And it is in a mall in Jakarta, Pacific Place Mall in Jakarta. And that is, it's not the only it's not the only American space in a shopping mall, but I believe it's the first. We have a few others. There's a corner, for example, in Malaysia, nearby here. It's the American Youth Corner Kuala Lumpur, which is in a shopping mall with a partner, and it's a very nice space, very engaging. And we will probably be able to announce something in the near future for something else here in Indonesia, but I don't want to jump the gun and say anything now, but that hopefully should be in the near future. Something not a big giant at America, something on a smaller scale, but something we're very excited about.
I'm excited to hear that as well.
And what other kind of places? So universities, public libraries, there are American corners in public libraries around the world as well. What's an example? There was one that I worked with in Karachi in Pakistan that was in public library there, a very large American corner inside the public library. There's many in Europe that are inside of public libraries where they have corners inside of those libraries. So it really does vary. But the university model is one that's worked well because largely, to be honest, because we have sort of a captive audience, right? We believe strongly in the youth of today, right? They're the future leaders, right? So we want to make sure that the youth of today have access to all the opportunities out there and have kind of full breadth of information to make their decisions about what they want to do in the world and make their mark in the world.
That's a very powerful line for the youth. And like maybe in the past, like we, especially in Indonesia, like I experienced myself, like I came in from a very small rural areas, just coming here and opening my eyes and then have the opportunity to be at an American corner and listen to one of the Education USA program like YSEALI programs, and then got the opportunity to go to the United States. It's something that I opened my eyes. If it's not because that I volunteered at American Corner, I might not be able to step in America.
So I'm so glad you brought that up because that is one of our key goals that we have here when we do events and when we have an American Corner is to be able to talk about the educational exchange opportunities that we have through the U.S. Embassy and the U.S. government. So you mentioned YSEALI. So that stands for Young Southeast Asia Leadership
Initiative.
Initiative, sorry. We just use the acronym so much, I forget. So YSEALI is for this part of the world. We also have, for example, YALI in Africa. We have YLI in Latin America. But it is an amazing opportunity, right? As you know, you participated, right? They do programs and events regionally in different countries in the region. And then they also do things locally and they do things globally, right? So there are big events that they'll host in Washington, D.C. as well. They do academic fellowships. They do professional fellowships. It's really a wonderful opportunity and anyone can join, right? I think there is a website you can go to and sign up and register for that. and then become aware of the different programs that are available to you to apply for. So that's one opportunity that you're familiar with, right?
Yes.
Maybe can you tell me exactly, because I don't remember now. I know you had an opportunity to go to the United States with Waisili. Can you tell me what that was? I can't remember.
That was last year.
Oh, it was last year.
Just last year. Like maybe not even like a year now. It's like 8 months ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I got the opportunity to go with Waisili Professional Fellowship Program.
Okay.
Which I placed in Montana in a city called Missoula. It's in western Montana. It's very nice and beautiful city, passed through Clark River. And I was there for around 5 weeks.
Okay.
And it's a 1 week orientation and 4 weeks of fellowships, I can say. And during this fellowship, I placed in Partnership Health Center. It's one of the largest public health center in Montana. Oh. Yeah. Across the state. Okay. And I serve as one of the program development team with my host and Netherlander as a program development manager. So we did a lot in like reaching out to HIV because my background is a medical doctor. So that's the activity that I always have in a daily in Montana life. And I think it's a great opportunity to expose to, not only American culture in general, but also how does American work. As a medical doctor, I never have any idea because in Indonesia, we don't have any exchange student to America because the different systems that we use in terms of medical school. So I think it's really a great opportunity and I will really recommend any youth in Indonesia, please check out this Waisili program. If ever that you would cross to this program and, get access to American Corner nearby you.
Yes. What a good promotional piece to throw in there. Yes. And Missoula, Montana. I have to say, I've never been to Montana. The United States is a very large country, right?
It is large.
Very large. And I've never made it to Missoula. I've heard about Missoula. I have to believe it's a little different. It looks a little different than your world here in Yogyakarta, at the very least. Yes. And I'm sure you have lots of great stories that you could share with your colleagues here. And I also want to make a connection, since you brought it up, that your background in medicine and then the kinds of programs that are here at American Corner UMA. And that is, you recently hosted a program here on mental health, right? Yeah. It was a program series. Yeah. And those are the kinds of program series and events that we do here at UMA and at our other American spaces in Indonesia. So I'll give you an opportunity to explain that in a minute, but it's in the context of things like Able Marketers was another program series that we ran here for persons with disabilities to get experience in digital marketing. We had, I don't know if it came through here, but one on an eco camp experience. We do program series on, what are some of the others? On the environment. There was another on environment and religious faith. Some on English language learning. And those are some of the bigger program series. And then, of course, the everyday experiences are going to be those like movie programs or English language conversation clubs or book clubs, things like that, right? Yeah. Board games, please. Yes, board games. We have lots of board games here. So those are sort of the everyday things, and then the larger things like the program series. Yes. So I want to ask you the question, tell us about the program series that you did on mental health here.
Well, we did a lot in the past month, in the month of May. Yeah, it's a month of the celebration of Mental Health Awareness Month, and we specifically want to use that month to have this series of programs. It's we did our campaign is actually to reduce stigma. So we did a lot. And then to reduce stigma, we need to work in the layer of society. We need to work in the physician itself or people who are working as medical professionals. And we also working with the community and then working with students, actually. Excellent. So for the physician, we did physician training on inclusivity. Okay. So we brought up the idea of culturally appropriate medical healthcare services so that people can have, a little bit about how to address the mental health without judgment, because sometimes stigma is very strong in terms of medical health professional. So that's why people are hesitate to go to seek for medication. And the other than that, we do seminar on mental health. We invite some of community to come and to understand from the very beginning how does mental health was really happen, and then how did we cope, how we as a public in general, how do we want to address this if we see someone who are struggling with mental health. And the last one, we did a workshop in active listening. It's basically for students, because here in the campus we have a student counselors. So there's like member of students council. We need to equip them with the right skills to address mental health issue. As for example, in United States, they have a mental health first aider, like just a normal people or people who are not working in a medical background setting, but they do equip with the skills of mental health first aider to connect and the community with their resources. So we want to try to use their skill, which is the active listening skills, to apply in our student counselors. So whenever that they see students struggling, their peers know how to help and then connect them to the resources we have. Because in the campus itself, we do have resources to help people out with the mental disability or mental health challenges as well.
Such an important service. Wow. That is really amazing. I guess when I think about it, I'm thinking of two things. One is when you're talking about active listening, that is such an important skill for all of us to have, whether it's in the context of mental health or in any context, right? Active listening is important in building relationships. It's important in diplomacy. It's important in our everyday lives, right? So active listening is an incredibly important skill, and I would love to see more of that happening here. And I think there's some opportunities to do more active listening kinds of instruction. And then my second thought is just on mental health as a topic, and mental wellness rather as a topic in general. I think, at least, I'm older, right? I won't say old, I'll just say older. And through the years, I will say that I think the stigma that's attached to mental illness has been chipped away at a little bit, right? I think there's a little bit more openness to at least talk about it, right? I think it was often, at least in my background and my part of the world and my knowledge, it was often something that was closed away, right? Behind closed doors. If you were, the so-called crazy, right? You were locked up, right? That was the end of it. And if you were experiencing any challenges, you were told to just keep it down. Keep it down. Don't talk about it, right?
Talk to God more.
Yes, exactly. Talk up there, or talk
more
to yourself, but, keep it quiet. So I'm really heartened to see at least people talking about the subject. And I hope you had good reception with your program here at the university. And hopefully we can do more of that across all of our American spaces.
I would love to contribute if the American spaces decided to do some of mental health program in other spaces in Indonesia.
I'm getting ideas as we're sitting here. I think that would be an amazing thing that we could offer, right? If we had something across all the network, because we have a network of 13 spaces. In Indonesia, right? We have 3 American centers and what adds up? 3 American centers, 9 American corners, and 1 affiliate American space. That equals the 13. But if we could figure out a way to do some kind of network, or even just sharing resources about mental wellness and doing something bigger, I think it would would have a great impact. Right? So, thank you for offering. I'm writing it down mentally. You offered to host some programs. That's excellent. What was the name? Tell me the name in Bahasa. So
it's Telinga Hati.
Say it again.
Telinga Hati. Telinga means ear. Hati means heart. So we ear of the heart. So you listen by your heart. So that's what the idea, the very first idea why this is very relevant.
What a lovely sentiment. Very lovely. I have to say and apologize too that I speak zero Bahasa. I'm so very sorry that I don't. Otherwise, I would have known with that. I would have caught the connection with the name. But thank you.
Okay. Speaking of the making the programs become more and more, you saying that you wanted to see more mental health programs that run by the American Corners. How do we make programs in American Corners, not only in Yogyakarta, in UMY, but also across Indonesia, all the 14 American spaces we have? And how to make the program sustainable?
Wow. So those are big questions, I would say. I will say first that we have a lot of resources and sources for program ideas, right? We like to call them our idea fairies. The people come in with ideas, right? But I will say that first and foremost is one of the skills that you were talking about here. It's that active listening, right?
Yep.
So it's one of the reasons why I come and visit the corners, right? Is to hear from people here on the ground. What is important? What do you want to see? What do you want to see in your
Sure.
American corners? What's of value? How can we have a conversation that would be meaningful to both of us, right? So, so that is number one. And because I get to see and have those conversations with different American spaces, both here in Indonesia and in other countries, and with my colleagues, other reps in the field, who can tell me, oh, in Germany, they're really talking about this topic, or, in Kenya, they're really worried about the environment, or whatever the topic might be, right? So we share ideas in that way. But it's that active listening to people on the ground and what makes sense and what works. We see from past experience, right? We hear about the programs that are popular, right? We know, just like we know that karaoke is popular in this country, right? So if there's something we can do valuable connected to karaoke, we'll go for it, right?
Mhm.
So we like to, keep our ears and heart open at all times to find out. Yeah.
So it's very, a key of everything, because, in the diplomacy world, active listening is also very useful, like you said, like to hear and listen to people, what do they need? And to make the program sustainable, we need to actively listen to the American corners across Indonesia, what their actually needs and the audience wants, not only just the popular one, but also to add more value on that as well.
Exactly, right. Because I'm glad you said popular too, because it's not just about the numbers, right?
Yeah.
It's not just, 50 people came to this topic and only 20 people came to this topic. That's not how we evaluate, right? You're going to have different topics that have different audiences, right? Not all youth, are interested in what? In becoming an environmental expert, right? Or advocate. Not all youth in the area are interested in any particular given topic. We're diverse, right?
Yeah.
We talk about diversity and what is it? Diversity, democracy, and prosperity, right? So this is a diverse country. Both of our countries are very diverse. So yes.
Okay. I think the last questions that I wanted to ask is, would you tell us where do you see American corners in 5 years from now?
Oh wow, 5 years from now. Let's see. 5 years from now will be 2029 or 2030 or something like that, right? So I will say that I am a fan of fewer and bigger, in a lot of different categories in life, right? So I would rather see our energies focused on those things that work, right? On those areas where we can have an impact. So even if 5, 9, 10 years from now, there were fewer physical American spaces, I think we can have a greater impact by doing things like virtual programs that are very targeted, not just, broadcast out to the world, but very targeted audiences for virtual programs. We might also see something like traveling American spaces, right?
Wow.
I would love to see that, right? Whether it's a plane or a boat or a ship or a bus or anything, right? But just a traveling American space, and have people who are really passionate about the program, about the idea, being those that are taking that program from place to place around the country. Indonesia is an enormous country, right? And
exactly.
Yeah, and as an archipelago, it's not always that easy to get from point A to point B, right?
Yeah.
So I think in 5 years, what I'd like to see and what I fully believe I will see is programs with greater impact, right? Stronger communities around those American corners. And seeing what's happening here at UMA, I am confident that is what I will see 5 years from now.
Wow,
Thank
beautiful. I really want to highlight, I agree that a mobile American corner, like by ships, for example, to put it on the eastern part of Indonesia, where they will be excited. Like there is a lot of islands, they can hop to one island to another and connect with the childrens there
Exactly.
and then teach them whatever they need,
That'd be
right?
exciting. I'm writing it down. Yes. Yeah. No, I would love to have that.
Oh my gosh. I have no idea. Like Miss Marcy Carrel has really blown my mind, like in terms of the ideas. And she's sitting here with me now and us telling stories about American corners. And I also am able to share my stories
Yes,
and she
thank
write
you.
it down right away about all the ideas that we shared for the past 30 minutes, I guess. All right, guys, I think that's the end of the podcast and all the questions I could ask Miss Marcy today. Do you want to say any final words like to say to closing? No?
Just terima kasih. Thank you very much to you, Amir, and to everyone, to our American Corner UMA Corner coordinator as well, who's sitting out here in the audience. Thank you for all of the work that you do here and the volunteers that make it all happen, right? This is volunteer run with direction from the coordinator. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Miss Marcy.
Come and visit. Come and visit.
Come and
to the
visit.
corner.
And thank you. We are very glad and very honored to have you here. And we as an American Corner, we're delighted to expand our knowledge and experiences to make programs to be more contribute to our community as well. And we committed to American Corner. Like as I said, like I've been here since 2015 and I'm still here anyway.
Wow.
So yeah, let's keep it the good work and let's see if that 5 years from now, American Corner's future by Miss Marcy happen. And my name is Emergim Ranjaringa and I'll see you to the next podcast. Bye.